Mayonaka Heart Tune, or Tune into the Midnight Heart. Episode 1 is finally here, and I have a lot to say about it. Let me be the first to tell you, this episode was a pile of dog shit. That's right, I'm on my Nicholas Light arc. I'm gonna dog all over this just like how One Punch Man Season 3 was being dogged over. To best describe my pain, let me use certain words a certain someone used for One Punch Man and JC staff. Dear Studio Gecko animators and everyone involved in this project, put the prize in the bag. What's worse is that there's this one garbage romcom that just recently came out called You Can't Be in a Romcom with Your Childhood Friend, something like that. And this is done by another subpar studio, Tezuka Productions. They just make average shows on the daily. And this shit had better animation and character designs than the slop we got. Like, how are we already fumbling this badly for the first episode? Before I pop off even more, let me take a second to talk about the good parts of this episode, and possibly this entire adaptation. The voice actors really surprised me. I kinda thought this would just be a Fragrant Flower case, where Rintaro and Karuko's voice actors were just dreadful to hear. The voice actors for this were actually really good. I was convinced these weren't the right picks for these characters when we first heard the seiyus, but I was proven wrong. Each voice actor gave great performances for their characters and made it engaging. Especially Nene, I could use a good example for. Okubo Rumi really nailed the tsundere vibe with her. Even though Nene was hardly being tsundere this episode. She just tapped into all that potential and set the perfect impression for Nene. Aside from that, I can at least say the dialogue was good, particularly for some of the comedic moments, like when Shinobu and Nene were fumbling on their lines when reading. I really liked how Nene's seiyu did it with the confusion of the words because Nene just struggles to read the kanji. So something like holy rat just comes off as horny rat. Little fun details like that just make some of the comedic moments pay off. Alright, now before I talk about my personal problems about the episode, let me talk about some crucial points this adaptation just completely missed. Aside from the horrendous off-model moments, the compositions and scenes, like the colors and tones, were just inconsistent. There's terrible usage of shots and angles throughout. They remove some comedic scenes which introduces the characters properly, when banter between each character is the driving force for this series. For what? They already fucked up and rushed production enough. Now core elements of the story are being cut. I can't reiterate enough that the comedic interactions are what makes the character dynamic so likable. I thought if production quality would be bad, they could at least carry with the story and characters. But they literally just fuck it over, making it a soulless husk of its former glory, by removing all these crucial elements. Like, if you can't give us quality visuals, at least make it up with good story and character interaction, instead of making these characters one-dimensional. Alright, as for my personal qualms about this first episode, I don't understand why they changed the color of Nene and Rika's jackets. Nowhere in any manga illustration do I see Nene wearing yellow. And Rika has a dark brown jacket, but for some reason they made it beige. Do note Nene's best color in the anime was originally pink, by the way. Worst of all, they're centering designs now. They removed the midriffs, aka the tummies from Shinobu and Rika. What is so bad about tummies showing, especially when this is being aired at an 11 PM slot in Japan, when kids normally wouldn't be watching this that late at night anyway? Like genuinely, what the fuck are these design choices? Do the character designers even understand what they're doing or what the characters actually look like? Because I don't think they do. This next one's my favorite. The constant horrendous off-model shots. I've seen a few folks defending this shit, saying it looks good or it's a good adaptation. What about this looks good? Like, are you retarded? Have you seen the frames with Shinobu? There's this one shot where she was supposed to be expressive as shown in the manga, but they made her look retarded. They literally gave her a Hegao face. What, did I miss Yamabuki giving her 10 backshots off screen? Did the animators mistake this for a hentai? Don't get me started on the amount of times the characters look like they're staring at a blank wall over each other. It's baffling how lifeless they look in nearly every scene compared to the expressiveness of the manga art. And this for sure won't be the last time. There's going to be plenty of more times throughout the season where there's going to be horrible off-model shots. Cause that's what the studio is coming for. Look at an anime they did last season, Banished Court Magician. It had good fight animation, but holy fuck were the characters just constantly off-model and deformed. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have ridiculous expectations for what studio could pick this up. While I probably did mention before I would have liked it to get the Fragrant Flower treatment, like being done by a studio and animators as good as the one in Cloverworks, I kinda wish JC Staff picked this up over Tomon's B-side. Because I'm sure they would have been able to do this justice, or at the very least, make a decent adaptation of it. Because I know they've done good rom-coms in the past, so having them do this wouldn't just become another One Punch Man Season 3 situation like it is now. There's probably more problems I could have brought up with episode 1, but we're already like 5 or 6 weeks, I forget, into the show. Might as well be 10 weeks by the time I'm done with this. Off the top of my head, my biggest issue with episode 2 was how poorly they did Rika's concert. Even looking at it from an anime-only perspective, most of that shit was a PowerPoint slideshow. The highlighted panel of that performance looked so goofy and lacked the intended impact. They just slapped a snobby PNG and added an invisible pan making the hair move to give you the illusion of movement. And what better way to spit in your face than to have an off-model shot of her panning, with her face falling apart right after. Shoutouts to the title cards, always there to show you how poor the execution of everything is, including this. I feel like the studio tries to follow too close to the book, and not in a good way. Instead of putting literal title cards at the end of each chapter adaptation, you could have had Rika's voice actor say liar, and cut off to the next segment of the episode instead of the chuckle and just cutting to the chapter title screen. I feel like that's just poor direction at that point. Speaking of poor direction, I just have one thing to say about Nene's chapter. They heavily fumbled the kiss scene. It looked so flat, they couldn't even draw her pose in the panel properly. Either way, they could have done the bare minimum and added some light reflection to Nene's position to have the scene feel vibrant, so they could at least somewhat capture the manga panel's impact. Everything else is already chopped from the storyboarding and character drawings. If they're sticking too close to this manga in a literal sense, why couldn't they do it for this one? As for episode 3, I do have to say I'm surprised they kept in the changing scene considering how much censoring they've done before. Even though this still had partial censorship as Nene's bra was invisible, still they didn't pussy out, so I will give credit where credit is due. Getting on to the main meat of this episode's massive fumble, Iko's chapter was unsurprisingly adapted horribly. The expressions were just off the entire time, which again is the main substance to the characters' interactions. I've lost count of how many times they removed her flustered faces for still uninspiring shots. Does anyone remember that one moment where she was pleading Yamabuki to help after panicking from her stream losing viewers? Motherfuckers didn't have the budget to pay for Iko's voice actor to do that line, so they had to mute it. I don't care if the intention was for Yamabuki to read her lips or whatever, they could have added a whisper. It's anime, blatant obvious actions don't get recognized by people. And imagine watching this without subs and you can't read lips. I think that would be pretty concerning that I can't hear shit if I was an anime only and didn't know the context. Last but not least, there are probably other moments with bad storyboarding, but the most I'm remembering right now is Iko's blushing at the end. What the hell was that atrocious storyboarding I witnessed? I could barely tell she was flustered. How hard could it be to do a side angle zoom of her face? Also, this director apparently storyboarded for Black Clover. Well, I don't remember the contents of the specific episodes he worked on. I'm starting to think those episodes had the middest storyboarding if he was the only storyboarder on those episodes. Episode 4 was a Shinobu episode, and per as usual, it was just off-model central. Terrible shots all throughout. Surprisingly enough, one of the more detailed panels of that chapter was actually drawn pretty decently in the anime. I still don't think it lives up to the manga, but again, it wasn't really bad. So again, giving credit where credit is due. Next up is... Wait, what's this? What the fuck?